talk a little bit about communication and touch just a dab on some navigation. Well, let's start off with cell phones. I know a lot of people think, hey, I got my cell phone, what do I need anything else for? Well, unless you know the phone number to every vessel that's going on around you, how are you going to call them? I mean, it's not possible. This is one of the reasons that the VHF should be your primary means of communication. Now on the bay, cell reception is usually pretty darn good just about everywhere. There are a few spots where it's spotty, but overall reception should be pretty good, and it's a good backup. And the other thing with cell phone, the Coast Guard doesn't monitor cell phone calls. They monitor channel 16, 13, and I forget what a couple other ones. Talking about the Coast Guard, I've got a video where we interviewed the Coast Guard on VHF procedures, and we talked a little bit about cell phones too. So I'll put a link of that in the description. So now let's talk about the VHF. And that really is the primary means of communication on the water. Now at one time, Channel 9, they tried to make that the primary initial contact for recreational boaters. That really didn't work out. Channel 16 is the emergency contact channel and is primarily used as an initial contact. But once you contact whoever you're going to contact, don't carry on a conversation on 16. We all know better than that. Switch over to another working channel. Some of the channels are, let's see. All right, well, of course, 9, you could talk on that for a little bit, but again, that's supposed to be an initial contact channel. So switch over to something like 19, 22, 70, and there's some other ones too. 68, 69, 71, 72, 78A. So, and when you go to a marina, your initial contact might be on channel 16, and they're gonna switch you over to one of these channels anyway. And the thing is, this is not a CB radio. When you get done with your communication, you say over and out, switching back to 16. It's really not a public address system, so just keep that in mind. But the VHF is important. And I carry the handheld so that when I get close to the marina or into an anchorage, I don't have to come below or look at the fixed base unit. I can turn this on. Now the range on both the handheld and the fixed base, a lot of that depends on what wattage you're broadcasting on and how high your antenna is. So like with us sailboaters, the antenna is usually pretty far up. And at 25 watts, you're probably getting 20 miles or more reception on that. Now with the handheld, of course, you got the smaller antenna, and this is mostly at a 5 watt. So it's good for when you get close. You're not annoying all the other people around you. And talk about annoying. Yeah, I know these things can get annoying, such as situations like this. And there are people who stand on the radio, they accidentally hit the talk button and they're there forever. And you can adjust the squelch a little bit, but if you do too much, well, then you're not going to hear anybody calling. So it's a fine balance in there. And that's another nice thing about when you're coming into a port or at an anchorage. Using the lower wattage, you're not picking up all the stuff that's out in the middle of the bay. So just keep that in mind. And of course, you know, it's line of sight. If you're trying to get to talk to the marina and you're around the bend and there's a lot of trees in the way, probably not going to get through to them on the handheld. You'd be better off using the fixed base with the higher antenna and the higher wattage. And on the bay, I don't think it's really necessary to have a ham radio. Maybe out at sea, it probably is very important. But it's not that expensive to get your license for that. It's not that difficult. So I signed up and I'm going to work on getting a course for it. Now I'm not going to go through and spend thousands of dollars on a fixed base station. I'm just going to pick up a handheld for what I would use. It'd be nice, just something nice to have if I ever needed it. Plus it'll just be kind of fun, right? Now other forms of communication, more like in distress signals, well, I got the spotlight here and it flashes an SOS. Let's see. There we go. And then of course flares is another one. Flags. All of these things are forms of communication. And on the bay, they're all pretty effective, really, because you're not that far from land anywhere. I mean, yeah, it can get rough out there. But, you know, if you continue to go east or continue to go west, you're going to bump into land before long. You don't want to ground yourself either. But you can get into some shallower water to where you can drop anchor and secure yourself. And regarding navigation, as we just mentioned, you're not too far from land. So line of sight, just navigate by looking around. And if you have the charts, pair of binoculars, you know the buoys, you know where you are. You can still get lost out there, but by having the charts and just looking around and knowing where you are, situational awareness, it's beneficial. And of course then the chart plotter, the tablet with the chart plotter. Radar would, like I've said this many times, radar would be nice. It would be, especially in the fog, early morning, late evening. Not everybody has AI, not everybody transmits AIS. It's easy to receive it, but transmitting it is another story. And a lot of the smaller vessels just don't have that, so radar would make that a little bit easier. Some of these radars that are, you know, got a good power base, hell, they'll even pick up crab pots and they'll pick up the fish nets. So that would be nice for navigation. And we'll really talk more about navigating on the bay in a couple of episodes coming up here when we talk about cruise planning and figuring out where we're going to go and have some fun this summer, guys. Well, that was kind of it just on the communication. Keep in mind, cell phone is great, but your VHF is most important. But it only works if you have it turned on. I know it can be annoying, but it can also be a saver. Till next time, happy and safe boating to you, your family, and friends.